And next question, a user needs to access the BIOS on their Windows 10 laptop, but it boots too quick to press a key. What is another way to access the BIOS? And by the way, for your CompTIA Plus Core 1 exam, you should know about Windows 7. As you can see in this question, it still refers back to Windows 10, so you should know about operating systems Windows 10 and Windows 11. And here the answer options are: unplug the power cord while booting, press Ctrl Alt plus Delete repeatedly, use the Windows Advanced Startup menu, or uninstall and reinstall Windows, or run check disk in the command prompt. And here the correct answer is use the Windows Advanced Startup menu, as the Advanced Startup menu allows access to UEFI firmware settings when the boot process is too fast. And next question, a user complains that their desktop PC does not detect their new NVMe SSD. What is the best troubleshooting step? Check BIOS settings for NVMe support, replace the motherboard, reinstall the operating system, update the USB drivers, or replace the network card. And here the correct answer is check BIOS settings for NVMe support, as some systems or some computers still don't have support for NVMe. And some BIOS configurations may require enabling NVMe support or changing the boot mode. And next question, a technician is setting up RAID 1 array. What is the primary benefit of this configuration? And as well, for your CompTIA Plus Core exam, no RAIDs, RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5 and RAID 10, and how they are different. So what is the primary benefit of this configuration for RAID 1? Redundancy, speed improvement, capacity increase, lower cost, or single drive operation. And the correct answer here is redundancy, as RAID 1 mirrors data across two drives, providing fault tolerance. A user reports that their laptop keyboard is typing numbers instead of letters. What is the most likely cause? A failing motherboard, num lock is enabled, a malware infection, a misconfigured firewall, a faulty power adapter. And whenever you are approaching questions and you don't know what is the correct answer, you could eliminate those answers which are most likely not the correct ones. And that is one thing when you look at the question. Here we are talking about reports that their laptop keyboard is typing numbers instead of letters. And for example, if we see a failing motherboard, we can understand straight away that it has nothing to do with motherboard, as motherboard is a physical technical part. It has nothing to do with making decisions. And we are looking at numlock is enabled, so this could be most likely answer. And here is malware infection, so this also most likely is not the correct answer, as malware usually slows down or breaks something, but it doesn't change really pretty much any functionalities. And then we have misconfigured firewall, which is also a protective measure of our computer systems. Then we are looking at faulty power adapter, which could also be which also has nothing to do with syncing or with functionality of our computers. This could affect most likely only whether our computer is able to function or it functions slower because there is not enough power on other similar causes. So here the most likely answer would be num lock is enabled, as enabling num lock on a compact keyboard can cause some letter keys to function as numerical keypad. And next question. A technician is installing new graphics card in a gaming PC. The PC powers on but does not display any video output. So technician has installed a graphics card. PC is powers on but does not display any video output. What should be checked first? The CPU clock speed, the BIOS version, the hard drive partitions, power connections to the GPU, or the operating system settings. And here the most likely cause could be, or what we shouldn't check, is power connections to the GPU, as high-end GPUs require more power to be connected from motherboard. And as you can see here, the correct answer is high-performance GPUs often require additional power connectors from the PSU. And PSU is power supply unit on your PC. And next computer, a laptop's battery percentage suddenly drops from 80% to 15%, and the laptop shuts down shortly after. What is the most likely cause? So your battery was 80% and then it dropped to 15%. So what is the most likely cause? A misconfigured power plan, a failing battery, a slow Wi-Fi connection, a corrupt boot sector, or a failing CPU. And here logically or most likely cause could be a failing battery, as a sudden drop in battery charge typically indicates degraded or faulty battery. And next question. A company wants to provide wireless network access for employees and guests but keep them separate. So give wireless access to company workers or to company employees and to guests, and to keep these two Wi-Fi connections separate. What is the best way to achieve this? Using a single SSID for both employees and guests, manually assign static IP address, disable DHCP for guests, set up a guest network with VLAN separation, or use MAC address filtering. And here the most logical answer would be to set up a guest network with VLAN separation, or virtual local area network separation, as VLANs keep traffic separate, ensuring security between employee and guest networks. And another way how we can achieve this would be through subnetting, which we are not talking about here, but VLAN or virtual local area network is when on one particular switch you are simply separating the same, for example, network by creating two subnet networks. Or for example, what's the difference in VLAN and subnetting is that subnets are separated not on the same switch, but they are separated by using a router. And next question. A user reports that their desktop computer randomly restarts. A technician checks the event viewer and finds kernel power error. What is the most likely cause? A misconfigured firewall, a corrupted operating system, a failing power supply, a faulty USB device, or an outdated graphics driver. So which would be the most likely cause here? And the correct answer would be failing power supply, as failing PSU or power supply unit can cause random reboots due to unstable power delivery. And next question. A customer complains that their laptop gets extremely hot and sometimes shuts down unexpectedly. What is the most likely cause? So when your laptop is getting extremely hot and it shuts down unexpectedly, what would be the most likely cause from these answers? Dust buildup blocking airflow, a failing graphics card, a slow internet connection, a corrupted operating system, or an outdated BIOS? And here the correct answer would be dust buildup blocking airflow, as most likely that is nothing to do with a failing graphics card, as graphics card wouldn't shut down your computer, and a slow internet connection also has nothing to do with shutting down your computer. A corrupted operating system could be the problem of shutting down your computer, but then you would see different errors before it happens, and an outdated BIOS also is just for starting up a BIOS, and you would see probably some errors if that would be to do with a BIOS. And next question. A technician is troubleshooting a desktop computer that won't power on. The power cable is connected, but pressing the power button does nothing. What should be checked first? Motherboard BIOS settings, CPU thermal paste application, power supply switch position, monitor cable connection, or hard drive health. So, which would be the most appropriate answer here? And here the correct answer is power supply switch position, as if a PC does not power on at all, checking the power switch on the power supply is logical first step. And power supply is that box. If you have a PC, if you have a tower PC, you will see it straight away, and usually they have a switch on and off switches which you can turn on and off on them. And this doesn't really apply to laptops or mobile devices.